I didn't expect to have as great of a time as I did this week with gouache. I ordered some a couple weeks ago and it came in on Monday or Sunday, sometime early this week, and I've just been playing with it. It's the first time I've used it in a couple years, few years, while. Like, water is my new favorite solvent. Part of the reason why I've been loving it so much is because it holds on to the marks I make, so all of my favorite things about drawing can still be present, but now I can put some color to that. And because it holds on to my marks, it changes the way that I think about color. So there's a wide range of chroma and saturation, which are the same thing. Gouache can be opaque. If you use white with any of your gouache colors, they're going to conceal the ground that the paint is on. It's interesting because you have darker colors that you can achieve by adding white, which is a very different relationship to color than I'm used to with my oil paints. I really love that ability to let the ground show through, to allow some of these normally darker colors become extra bright. At a certain point, there's like a threshold of when it becomes nearly opaque paint versus the level of translucency or that scumbled effect of the paintbrush across your page. I've found that there are different ways of applying watercolor paints and gouache paints that can emphasize those aspects of color and saturation and widen the way that I respond to value in my normal painting session. If I want to really saturate a whole area on this, I have an Arches watercolor block that is this kind of like really rough, thick paper that you have to cut off with a knife or a palette knife or something. I just use my fingernail. You can scumble and get like kind of a pixelated texture, or you can dab with the paintbrush and really like fully saturate each little lump in the paper. And then you can also use more water and get the white of the paper to show through, because it's actually like a really bright cold pressed paper, which means that it is a little bit rougher and that it bound faster, I believe. Not positive on that, don't quote me. It's slowing me down a lot to create these paintings this past week. I've found that my drawing process is a lot more responsive, but I also can pause and say, I'm going to use my brush to dilute and spread the color. I also have included water-soluble graphite from last video, and I just really think it's such a powerful media that I can change between brush and hard-edged dry media. Now I'm starting to think of new ways that I can apply this, especially into some of my conceptual practices, so I really want to get this big piece of paper that I can fold. I'm interested in creating some of my own pigments, so I have this beautiful yellow color called bismuth vanadate that I have in a powdered pigment from Kramer, and I found out that you can make your own gouache using gum arabic, and that excites me because I think having a variety or like a really specific palette is always something that I really appreciate, because I don't like to have too many tools. And right now I have 6 colors, and that's 3 too many for me. I like to have just 3 colors, a red, yellow, and a blue. And I guess because I'm using gouache, I'm going to use a lot of white, because there's, again, that play between opacity and transparency is really just so valuable to the breadth of language I can use in these paintings. There's something really intimate about watercolor painting and gouache painting that you can work on your lap. It's a very... Bottles are these tiny things. They're designed to... They're designed to be used on an intimate, portable scale. And the portability of watercolor, I mean, looking at plein air painting, or just the idea that maybe drawing and perceiving is something that you take with you, which it is. Perception is a part of our, touch, smell, hearing, sight. These are things that affect our existence greatly, whether you have them or not. And I think that the idea that painting is something you can take with you, the same way you take sensory record, is really beautiful. And I love that about watercolor painting. The layering process of watercolor really allows for me to play with abstraction in a way that I've been wanting to with drawing and painting, but I always had to do it separately. Whereas now I can have these moments of intense chroma, I can have these value transitions, these subtle, gradual, blended value transitions that you can only get with a brush, and create the same kind of harsh ends that drawing does, the same kind of responsive fluidity, because it's just so simple to get to from one color to another. The ground is still just as important in watercolor painting. Whereas I find that in oil painting, sometimes the ground, it's really easy to cover up your whole canvas. That kind of feels like the end goal often when you're painting, is to hit every inch of your canvas, make it all resolved within the world of color, rather than in drawing, it's often make it all resolved within the world of space. And maybe that is where my abstract language resides a lot more fluently, is I love space, I love atmosphere, I need to feel myself enter into the drawing and go into my paper. And I just really love that about these watercolor experiments I've been doing for the last week. If you want to join me on some of these watercolor experiments, I'm going to be doing a lot more. It's going to be a mainstay in my practice. Subscribe and check out some of my other videos. I have some about water-soluble graphite and drawing from the last couple weeks, and it would be great to hear your thoughts. I just opened a free drawing course on my website. All the materials are just there for you to look at, and then you can email me updates about your drawings if you do any of the assignments. I'd love to talk to you. Check out my Twitch if you want to watch the stream there, or you can watch it here by subscribing and hitting the bell icon. Alright, thank you for coming, and I hope to see you soon.